Good morning also to the AG's office this morning. It is Wednesday, the 18th of October, and we has just gone past 8, and we are convening our annual report meeting this morning. Honourable members, please do feel welcome. Just in terms of the apologies, I have received an apology from Member Kasim, and also Member Lecker will be online, and I do see that she is online. Otherwise, we should be in full attendance. My name is Wendy Kaiser-Philander, and I'm the chairperson of this meeting. I will allow members on my left now to please kindly introduce themselves.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning. My name is Matloi Maseko, and I'm the member, the Standing Committee of Parliamentary Oversight.
Good morning, I'm Killian Bosman, and I'm also a member.
Good morning, I'm Khalid Sayed. Thank you very much, and I'm a member here, but not a full member. I'm an alternate. Thanks.
Thank you very much, honourable members. And then on my right, welcome to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, members. My name is Unati Ngangani from the Auditor General. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Joanne April from the AGSA.
Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. My name is Singita Callan. I'm the Business Unit Leader for the Audit Office.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. I'm Francois Barnard, Chairperson of the Audit Committee.
Thank you very much. And then Member Lecker, online. I mustn't forget about you. Can you just introduce yourself for the record so that we know it's you in attendance? Member Lecker? Probably a connection issue.
Good morning, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, member. Welcome to the meeting, Member Lecker. And way at the back.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Pat Lecker. I'm a member of this committee.
Thank you very much for your attendance this morning, and all the best that your side as well, Member Lecker.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members and guests. Lizette Kluter, Senior Procedural Officer.
Thank you very much. And right next to me.
Good morning, Chair. Through you, good morning, honourable members, Auditor General, Audit Committee, Dustin Davids, POC support.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, in accordance with Standing Rule 72, Public Access and Involvement, meetings of committees are open to the public, including the media, except where the relevant committee resolves otherwise, and the exclusion of the public is reasonable and justifiable. Therefore, the chairperson may at any time close the meeting for decision by the committee, where the decision should be considered in camera. Any persons comprising of the public and media must withdraw from a meeting considered to be in camera on being requested by the chairperson to do so in terms of a resolution of the committee. Honourable members, I now also indicate to you that the meeting will be conducted in committee. Due to the sensitivity of matters to be discussed between the Parliamentary Oversight Committee, AXA, and the Audit Committee. Are we all in agreement, members? Thank you very much. The committee has therefore reached concurrence. Can we just confirm that the meeting is closed? Good morning, everyone. I just want to check. I did indicate that we'll reconvene at 9 o'clock. Member Lekker, are you online? Honourable members, if you can just give it another minute for Member Lekker to join, that would bring us to 9 o'clock. Thank you very much, Mr. Davids. Good morning again, honourable members. This is our second session for the morning. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Mr. Secretary, the entire management team, AGSAs welcomed, as well as the Audit Committee. For the record purposes of this session, my name is Wendy Kaiser-Philander, and I will be chairing this session. I will allow introductions of the members on my left.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Chair. My name is Matlodi Maseko, member of the Standing Committee and Parliamentary Oversight Committee.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. My name is still Gillian Postman, and I'm still a member of the committee.
Awesome.
Good morning, Chairperson. My name is Khalid Said. And I serve on this committee as an alternate member.
You're most welcome, members. Thank you very much. Online. Members, we are going to continue. We took a break in between the sessions and agreed that we will reconvene at 9 o'clock. So Member Lekker must join us. We have received an apology from Member Kasim, which is she is not joining the session today. Honourable members, we will then engage on the discussion of the 2022-2023 annual report of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. And at this point, I will ask the colleagues on my right to kindly introduce themselves for the record.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues and the administration. Dalen Mitchell, and I'm still the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament.
Good morning, everybody. Beverly Schaefer, Deputy Speaker.
Morning, Chairperson, morning, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and honourable members. The name is Romeo Adams, Secretary to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Speaker, Deputy Speaker. Good morning, honourable members and colleagues. My name is Lubabalo Stemel. I'm the Director of Parliamentary Support Services. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Nicole Peterson, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Chair and members. Dawo Jawdin, Manager Finance.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. Irma Delanga from the Directorate Strategy and Institutional Oversight.
Morning, Chair and members, colleagues. I'm Margot Goldstein, Director for Strategy.
Morning, Chair, members. Craig Mathieu, Directorate Strategy and Institutional Oversight.
Morning, Chair. Kobe Spricker, IT Manager.
Good morning, Chair members. Blanche Cancross, Internal Audit.
Morning members, Stefan Milan, Internal Audit.
Morning, Chair. Unati Mangani, Senior Manager, Auditor General.
Good morning, Chair. Joanne April, Auditor General.
Morning Chair, members and colleagues, Yanni Ace, Speaker's Office.
Morning, Chair. Andre Leroux, Senior Legal Advisor.
Good morning, Chair, members and colleagues. Lorica Elliott, Speaker's Office.
Good morning, Chair, members, officials. Mario Sassman, Manager Committees. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. Ridwan Babu, Manager, Knowledge Management.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Charles Dillman, Sergeant at Arms.
Good morning Chair, members, stakeholders. Usman Alexander, Manager DCM.
Morning, Chair. Temba Keswa, Manager PEO.
Good morning, Chairperson, colleagues and members. Sunil Fouchier, Public Engagement.
Good morning, James Retief, Manager, Stakeholder Management and Communication Services.
Good morning, Chair. Carolyn Prakasa, Manager, People Management.
Good morning, Chair and members. Zenzinikelo, Manager, Financial Compliance and Internal Control.
Good morning, Genevieve Beckham, Manager in the Office of the Secretary.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Maybe just an apology for Mr. Vernon Titus. He's currently on approved annual leave, the Director, Institutional Enablement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Duly noted. I think there's some colleagues at the back.
Thank you, Chairperson. Francois Barnard, Chairperson of the Audit Committee.
Good morning. My name is Tsepo Mhlomi, Auditor General Office.
Thank you very much.
Morning, Chairperson, members and guests. Nazit Kluter, Senior Procedural Officer.
Thank you, Ms. Kluter. We need to know who you are.
Chairperson, through you, good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, officials, honorable members. Dustin Davids, POC support.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, at this point, I will afford the Speaker as well as the Secretary an opportunity for opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and once again, good morning, colleagues. Chairperson, it is, and members, it is indeed a great honour to present the annual report for the Western Cape Provincial Parliament for the financial year 2022-2023, which it will also be my first annual report being tabled before this committee. Chairperson, having been elected as the Speaker to the end of the reporting period, I find myself in a very strange and peculiar position, seeing that I was only the executive authority for the last part of this financial year. But I want to take this opportunity to also, at this stage, thank the honourable members, not necessarily just the members in this committee, but all members of WCPP that assisted with the transition, which was indeed a steep learning curve. But the members provided the support in order for me to fulfill my duties as the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I also want to thank the Deputy Speaker and the Secretary and Administration at this point for the support provided during this transition stage. And it's the support that I rely on daily. So thank you very, very much for that. Honourable Chair, from the onset, as indicated in my acceptance speech when I became the Speaker, I made it categorically clear that we're going back to basics to fulfill our constitutional mandate of lawmaking, oversight, and public participation. And I have shared the priorities with the committee previously. And as you will see throughout our engagement, that we are very mindful of the core mandates of this institution and making sure that Parliament functions in a very democratic environment, and that we provide the services not only to the members, but also to the citizens of this province, because Parliament is the cornerstone of democracy, and we will continuously aim to achieve that in order to make a meaningful impact to the citizens and in the democratic space that we operate in. And then just finally, Chair, today we will engage on the annual report, both individually, account to the committee, but also collectively, because accountability, transparency, and openness is a key foundation and a key principle that I live by. So I look forward to the robust engagement. And thank you very much for, once again, for this opportunity in the interest of the institution, for every citizen of this beautiful province that we have the privilege of serving, but also, Chair, thank you very much to every single one of the officials of this institution for making it possible for us to be able to present this annual report today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opening remarks, Speaker. If it was up to me, I would have let you go at this point. Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. No opening remarks. I think the Speaker had covered all of the areas.
Thank you so much, honourable members. Also, please note that I do not see any other stakeholders within chambers or online, but the session is open on YouTube for public consumption. So we do hope that there are members of the public that are interested and joining the session online. Members, we will then today engage on part A of the annual report from pages 9 to 30, part B, pages 31 to 86, part C, pages 87 to 108, part D, pages 109 to 132, and part E, pages 133 to 139. Members, part A, members, page 9 to 30. Member Lecker, I see your hand, and then I'll immediately after you, Member Syed. You may proceed, Member Lecker.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to the Speaker and the entourage. I think, Chairperson, the first thing that I would want to speak to are two glaring omissions that I did not find in the annual report itself. And the first one would be, one would have assumed that we had a speaker appointed by Parliament in 2019. And as a result of issues, we now had the second speaker of the 6th Parliament. However, this report does not at any given point speak or give credit to the work that has been done by the previous speaker. I think it's important as Parliament, as opposition parties, we must acknowledge the work done by the predecessors. Then the second glaring point for me, Chair, is around the unfortunate instance that took place in Parliament around the deceased of the former Chief Whip. May his soul rest in peace. And as the ANC, we definitely do not want to make political statements about this, but I think most importantly would be the report that we requested as the ANC, which we have not received to date. Let me speak on page 16 about the accounting officer, Chair. The report
Member
on the
Lecker.
Yes,
Member Lecker, may I please interrupt you? I think it's important that you will now be engaging in the report, as you've made mention of a page, but you spoke to the two omissions, according to you, that is omitted from this annual report. Can we just quickly deal with that?
Okay.
Speaker, are you responding?
Thank you, Chair. I think in my opening remarks, I stated that I found myself in a very peculiar position where I account for the end of this financial year as the speaker elected in December 2022. Again, it is my privilege to present the annual report, and I look forward to engaging on the report. I take note of the honourable member's comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That deals with that. Honourable Lekker, please do continue in terms of Part A. And as you've stated, just repeat the page that you are referring to, please.
Thank you, Chair. Page 16. In line with the problematic, let me first say, in terms of point of reference, the report of the accounting officer, then it says this led to an amendment to the Western Cape Constitution. And I think as part of my comment, Chair, would be this line is problematic because we have not had the amendment yet. In fact, it could be a case of putting...
Member Lekker, I do apologize for interrupting you. I'm not sure whether it's only me, but there are some interference on your side. I'm not sure whether you are at the office, but can I please ask that ICT assist the member because there is a slight disturbance and it is a bit difficult to hear you.
I'm with you. I hear you there. There is a little bit of noise in my background. Chair, I think what is more problematic for me is the issue of the report, to report on the constitution that has not that has been amendment when it has not been in actual fact. But let me speak on that one so that we get an understanding as to why it is put in that way. Then page 17, Chair, program 2.2 on the expenditure under governance, leadership and administration. While we note the priority for this administration in strengthening the core business, as we saw in page 15, the ANC wishes to note that the most fundamental program of WCPP is program 1, which is governance and administration. And I think we've heard of reasons in the past as to why the budget for program 1 is bloated. But can we get an assurance that the next budget for vote 2 will not allocate more funds on program 1 than to the other 3 programs, which is a core business of Parliament? And then maybe, Chair, again on 2.3 under supply chain and asset management, the first bullet refers or relates to fruitless and wasteful expenditure covering the interpreting services, which was not timeously cancelled with the respective service providers. The latter has since been transferred to the finance unit to institute recovery. We have reports of this fiasco in the media when the interpreters were not paid. Could we get details of this debacle so that we can know and see that it is actually the case of a fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and an indication of whether the matter has been resolved with the service providers or not? And then, Chair, maybe let me also speak lastly on page 18. Page 18, 2.3, supply chain again. The second bullet says the third instance relates to a matter regarding the use of an official vehicle and is still the subject of an internal process. So maybe we need to get some details on those. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Lekker. Responding. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the questions from Honourable Lekker. Chairperson, the matter that Honourable Lekker had identified in terms of page 16, it is an oversight, it will be corrected. The Honourable Lekker is correct. The sentence construction there is not accurate. If I go to the next matter, in terms of page 17, 2.2, on the table 2.2, Honourable Lekker had asked for a commitment, Chairperson, that there will be no additional funding added to Program 1. At this stage, we are still in the process of dealing with the budgeting process for the next financial year, and therefore the administration is not in a position to give any such commitment. Chairperson Honourable Lekker had indicated that it is a bloated budget. We need to understand that there are enabling services also in Program 1. If we, for example, look at the ITDS, the IT component with all of the laptop refresh that has to happen there, other IT matters that comes from that specific budget also, and that's where the funding also lies in terms of that. Chairperson, the question from Honourable Lekker in terms of page 18, SCM interpreters, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I'm going to ask Mr. Jabudin and Mr. Stimele just to respond to that specific question before I'll move on to the last one. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. For the question regards to the Honourable Lekker regarding the 2 inches of fruitless and wasteful expenditure regarding interpreter services, that's the incident that happened in the prior year of this annual report, where services was booked for interpreting services for particular meetings. However, that meeting was subsequently cancelled, and the actual interpreter service was not cancelled for those meetings as well. Hence, the interpreters didn't appear pitched up basically for the meeting and were not informed to actually that the meeting had been cancelled, and we therefore incurred costs for that particular service. That particular fruitless and wasteful expenditure went through investigation process to determine if there was any negligence, and we had subsequently recovered the funds for that service that we had paid. Okay.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, regarding the interpreting services, that yes, we agree that there were reports in the news, in the media that went out, but upon investigation, it was found out that it was not necessarily that the issue that they were not being paid, but it was the issue that when they submitted their invoices, the invoices were not submitted in a format that they're supposed to be submitted on. So there will always be disputes that will be raised. However, there was one interpreter that had always having this, which then I've only finalized the issue of that particular interpreter only yesterday, who had always been, I'm not sure whether was it the issue of not understanding what we're saying, because the invoice that the interpreter concerned had submitted it was dated December 2023, although it was supposed to be dated December 2022. So upon me engaging with the interpreter on time-based basis, then ultimately after a period of about 3 months, since the matter was escalated to me, then it was then only yesterday that she had submitted now the required documents that are correct, and I've signed and approved them, and it will be paid probably within this week or sometime next week earlier. Thank you.
Chairperson, so just two further matters with regards to that specific point. So there is an internal process with regards to the payment of service providers, in this case, interpreters. That internal process deals with what are the documents that are required that must be correctly and accurately completed. What are the supporting documents that are required to come with the invoice? The invoice needs to be a unique invoice. When I say a unique invoice, there cannot exist another invoice with that same reference number in order for the WCPP to pay. As part of the control process, there is a checking process for that specifically. In some instances, errors do creep into the submission of the documents. For example, the time might not be correct on the invoice. That then gets returned to the interpreter for those corrections. And once the corrected documents with the correct supporting documents are received, those payments are then processed. That's number one. Number two, with regards to fruitless and wasteful expenditure, there is a process where the expenditure is investigated based on the report that follows a rigorous process. They would then, if deemed necessary, the report would then recommend either recovery and or consequence management if an employee has been found to have contributed towards the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And that is how fruitless and wasteful expenditure is generally being dealt with within the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. As Chairperson, the last question from Honourable Lecker refers to the second bullet point. The note there indicates that it's still a subject of internal WCPP processes. That scenario has not yet changed, Chairperson. Thank you.
Sure.
Chair, I just want to just make a general comment with regards to Honourable Lekker's point on the budget and the commitment. I and the Secretary is absolutely right. We're in the process of putting a budget together. So I just want to give the assurance that when I say we're going back to basics, it really is just focusing on our core mandate. I think it's generally and publicly known the fiscal financial situation that not just the Western Cape is in, but the country from a treasury perspective. So with that, the commitment is that we will really make sure that the functioning of Parliament will be the key priority, and everything, the add-ons or the nice-to-haves will not be prioritized in the next financial year. It will really be to ensure that the core function of Parliament is properly executed in those line items. So that commitment I can give. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Speaker. May I ask, Mr. Secretary, the member referred to page 18. May I just ask also in terms of the third bullet point, the circumstances around that was, please?
It is, Chairperson, the unused accommodation, the bullet point referring to that. Mr. Javadin.
You, Chair, just with regards to the third bullet point that speaks to the heading just above 2.3 as well, relating to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. That's two new cases within, well, in the financial year under review, where there was one instance where accommodation was booked for committees. However, the accommodation was not deemed suitable and additional accommodation was booked. However, we still incurred costs for the accommodation that was cancelled, and hence that was seen as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. That also went through an investigation process, and it was ascertained that no one was liable for that donation because of the fact that it went through the procurement process as well. But however, that was deemed as fruitless and wasteful expenditure as we paid for a service that was not used. The second instance is basically with regards to the enabling allowance claimed with regards to the case with under investigation with the previous speaker on the enabling allowances claims. And that was deemed as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. However, that was recouped as well, which is the amount that is reported and is in the financial statements as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I see the hand of Member Bosman, Maseko, and then Syed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, on the issue of the accommodation not deemed suitable, is it possible to get an understanding of what the baseline is to determine what is suitable? Because one of the issues that we've had as committees is that we arrive at certain hotels and we've told committee services that certain hotels are not appropriate. And then a couple of months later, you end up at the same hotel. And the explanation you get is that it's the travel agent who decides where you stay. And sometimes we also have to incur extra costs in transport because the hotels closer to where the oversight is taking place is not within the panel of that specific travel agent. So I just maybe get an understanding of how those decisions are made. Is there a minimum standard that we look at to ensure that sort of a hotel that has sort of the minimum sort of functions, etc., in terms of what we need. And then my other question is, can I go to the next question, or can I keep it to that follow-up? So then just also on page 18, the second bullet point, is that related to a vehicle within the WCPP's fleet? So the vehicles used for committee services. And then on page 19, under the subheading tender status, the number 2 and number 3, is that the third bullet point, is that related to the cyber attack in terms of the services cancelled? And then if I could get maybe just some detail on what the nature of the 10 accumulated material gifts were to the value of 34,665. And then on 2.7, compliance with the 30-day payment period, of the 9 invoices, what type of consequence management has been put in place related to the breakdown of the internal controls there? And is it linked to the issue that Mr. Stamele was just telling us about? And if maybe they can just expand a bit more on what the consequence management issues were there, then I'll stop there for now, Chair.
You, Member Bosman, Member Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think some of question Member Bosman have asked. I just want to find out on the performances of the program 1, 2, 3. Is it that? No. Yeah, I think it's up to 3. There is the underperformance. And I mean, speakers who talk about going back to the basics, what is, if you say you have underperformed, and then considering the type of the responsibility of the legislatures have, what is your baseline for you to say that you performed or you didn't perform? Because some of the issues, it's like if you say you underperformed, I'll make an example. If you say you underperformed for the public outreach, you had the legislations, we went out there and we're using advice of this institution to say, how can we go about? And then when you get the report and say we underperformed, what is it that we needed to do more than what we are doing now so that when we do the annual reports of 2023, 2024, we know that we have, you have grown in what you were doing, or you have literally regressed in all those programs. It's a little bit difficult for me to really, besides just the financial part of it, but the performance of what we need to do, because your performance also is based on what members' responsibilities are within the institution. So if we can get that, what is your baseline on saying that now I'm taking this notch up, or I have to regress on this one because it didn't work. Now I'm going to be innovative in implementing something else. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Member Maseko. Member Said.
Chair, thank you very much. Mine is just a follow-up, or maybe just to expand on Member Lekker's question on page 18 with regards to I think it's the second bullet point, and I know there was the response from the Secretary. We just wanted to know, and I think she's given the entire input and raised a concern. It is a conduct committee matter. The conduct committee deals with it. It's not necessarily for this, but we just wanted to know, when is the resolution of the matter going to be envisaged? That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Said. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the first set of questions was from Honourable Bosman. I'm going to ask Mr. Javadin to deal with a question that's also linked with the follow-up question that Honourable Said asked in terms of the second bullet point at the end of page 18, whether it's part of the fleet of the WCPP. In terms of what are the minimum standards for accommodation. So because we follow an open and competitive supply chain management process, it then presupposes that the client, i.e. the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, in its specifications sets what is required. Okay, Honorable Bosman had also indicated that sometimes the accommodation is not as close as possible to the venue that where the business will be conducted, and that could then also translate into additional travel expenditure. The specification determines, when we go out with the specification, determines what are the options made available to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. We could, for example, send it out to 5 service providers that provides accommodation services. They decide whether they want to respond to it or not. Sometimes we only get one response because of the urgency of the matter. We then have to consider whether that one response firstly meets the specifications, and secondly would meet the desired outcomes of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. It is not the service provider that decides, but it is dependent on how many options we are given. So if we have, of the 3 service providers quoting, and they have 3 different establishments based on these specifications, we would then have a bigger set of options that we can then consider. If only one of the 5 service providers quotes and they only have one establishment that they are quoting, then the decision needs to be taken. Do we go with this one or don't we go with this one? Okay. I'm just going to maybe ask the CFO or Mr. Alexander just to indicate. So we would generally know that accommodation establishments chairpersons would be no stars, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. If part of the specifications, we would specify that specific, because that would then be a guide based on what we receive. That's that one. Chairperson, with regards to the matter on page 19, the tenders, I'm going to ask Mr. Skriker to respond to that. We have an indication of the gifts. Mr. Jawadin would also respond to that. And then with regards to the question from Honorable Maseko in terms of the performance and what is the standard, I'm going to ask Ms. Goldstone maybe just to give us an indication for the parliamentary term, the current parliamentary term. What does the trajectory look like in terms of where did we start in the first year? Where are we now? And whether there's been any ebbs and flows in terms of that. If that will assist the Honourable Member Maseko in getting some insights in terms of the performance of the institution. Maybe just generally speaking, if we look at governments across the country, there is a standard that would be generally acceptable in terms of the percentage of indicators. Anything above 80% is considered, I don't want to use the word exceptional, but it's a bit higher than just average in terms of that, because if you look at some of the reasons why the performance does not get to 100%, sometimes it's factors outside of control of the institution. But Honourable Maseko, I think my request to Ms. Goldstone, just to give an indication for the parliamentary term, should give an indication of whether we've progressed from year 1 or whether we have not progressed from year 1. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. In that order, can the officials then kindly respond? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the S&D policy, we generally ascribe to book members as at 4-star entities or hotels accommodation. However, these smaller towns don't necessarily have full 4-star or have limited, and we sometimes compete against other institutions in terms of booking. So we try and book as far as possible 4-star, and it's based in, and it's linked to the specifications as the Secretary has indicated. We then present all quotes to the line function for approval or non-approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The MDR service, just to give clarity, MDR is Managed Detect and Response Service. It allows us a 24/7 detection and response capability in terms of cybersecurity, and that tender failed due to an exorbitant amount of approximately 42 million, which was not within budget. Hence, that managed detect and response capability failed. And it basically is where a managed service provider looks 24/7 at any anomaly or any types of activities with all the identities, all the usernames, and all the endpoints. What is going on? Are people logging on odd hours? Is data being exfiltrated? Has there been any breach? Are certain endpoints vulnerable? So it's a 24/7 service, and that unfortunately did not succeed due to the budget constraints. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, just with the two other questions. Firstly, regarding the gifts and donations declared. With regards to the gifts and donations declared, the majority of that was in the process of when WCPP assisted SOCAT with arranging of workshop, etc. And the staff that were involved in assisting received stipends for the assistance, which has been declared for us to register on the gift and donation register. So that's the majority of those 10 that has been declared. With regards to the instance of invoices paid over 3 days, for each of those 9 instances, we do look at specific reasons as to why those invoices were not submitted within the required 30-day period. Managers, sub-program managers are required to provide representation with regards to that reasoning. Each memo, so to speak, with regards to those reasons is interrogated to see if there is any negligence or any consequence management that emanates from that. If there is any negligence from there, we then take it forward with regards to the consequence management process. There had been specific verbal warnings issued to staff members or sub-program managers who were seen to be negligent in submitting those invoices outside the FAMPA required 30-day period. And just to note specifically with regards to those 30-day payments, even though we had 9 invoices over 30 days, that is 9 invoices over a total of 2,353 invoices that we had over the year. So we had, even though we had 9 invoices paid over 3 days, we paid 99.68% of our invoices in compliance with FAMPLA within the 30-day period. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Javadin, the matter on page 18, the second bullet point, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. There was a question on whether it's for one of the fleet vehicles.
Okay. To you, Chair, just with regards to the instance of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, that is regarding a vehicle where it's currently under investigation, where a process is still determined via the Corner Committee, and an outcome for the outcome is still to be determined in this current financial year with regards to the any recoupment of that particular fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, thank you. With regard to Member Maseko's question, the Secretary asked me to indicate the trajectory of performance over the term. In the first year, 2019-20, we were at 78% overall achievement on APPs. 2020 and 21, there was a slight dip. That was the COVID year, down to 74%. And then we are now again on an upward trajectory from 74% to 76% last year, and then 81% in the current year of this annual report. The target that we'd set for the term is 96% per annum. So we had big ambitions at the beginning of the term, and we thought that whatever we had set out to achieve was in fact achievable in relation to the strategic objectives that we had set. We're still aspirational that we can head towards 96% in the next year, but that is the trajectory, and we seem to be on an upward trend, if that satisfies you. The other part of your question, Member Maseko, if I understood it, was to ask about the baseline, on what basis do we determine the performance. You will see from the nature of the indicators that are in the annual report that a lot of them are largely focused on administrative actions, except for specific ones in the Speaker's office, for example. Where we are trying to migrate to in the very near future is to actually mature this planning framework so that we become, in the measurement of what we do, a lot more impactful, that we take into account what kind of benchmarks are being applied in the international context, in the legislative sphere, also in South Africa. So what you will begin to see, and this is really a matter of maturity because it also requires systems maturity. It means you must be on a systematic basis collecting data to be able to report on this, on impact measures. But we are moving in that direction. We're definitely not there yet, On that, we concede, but certainly it's a matter of maturity in evolving our planning framework, and you shall definitely in the near future see some progression in that regard.
Members, are there any follow-up questions on the responses? I see Member Maseko.
Thank you very much. Chair, I asked that question because I tend to believe that when you set your performance targets, it's based on something. You set the performance targets knowing you're going to achieve that. And I do understand the standard in the country or in the world of achieving the targets, but we are talking about the specifics of WCPP. You set the targets for yourself, and you said what you say you can achieve. So they need to be. You need to have the diagnostic assessment of what is it that didn't work, so that you don't do the deep and up and say what can work, and diagnosing the institution itself to say that when you set the other target, it will be based on the data collected of what you thought you can do, but it's not possible. And I'm talking about that, looking at the public hearing, that every annual reports we talk about, the public outreach, the public hearings, that there is always something that is not working for us to get to increase the percentage that we are doing well or we are not doing well. Now, I'm going back to the question of saying that you set the targets is what you said you can achieve, and it's not achievable. So how do you diagnose what is it that you need to do for you to set the targets that you can achieve? You have the baseline, and then you look at the other best practices somewhere, but you are WCPP. During the COVID-19, you were the champions of doing the virtual to make sure that the business of WCPP operates, which is something that was unique and then has been taken over by the other parliaments learning for the best practices. Now, I come back to saying that you've got the baseline, you've got the targets that you set, what you can achieve. We are not there on the fourth industrial revolution where we can say, now we champion everything. But you as WCPP, you set the targets that you say, I'm going to achieve 1, 2, 3. If I'm going to have 3 computers, I'm going to buy 4 chairs, I'm going to do that. Now, if you underperform on what you have said you are going to do for a financial year, what is it that didn't work for you not to be able to achieve that, leaving any other practice out there? Thank you very much, Chair.
Member Maseko. Ms. Goldstone.
Thank you, Chair. I understand the question. I think I would say, in year, whilst you may have set a target, there will be factors that impact on your ability to achieve. Some of them out of your control, some of them operational matters, some to do with capability or your capacity in year, some to do with just operational failures. And so you would see from Part B the range of reasons that we cite for non-achievement, and they are quite varied. So I can't in one blow indicate a sort of overall trend as to what the reasons are for not achieving these targets. But I would say that it's a range of factors, and operational challenges definitely do come into play, particularly in a quite lean structure like the WCPP, where if you, for example, lose a staff member, immediately your service delivery is impacted. So yeah, those are some of the types of challenges that we face in setting targets that are realizable.
Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, when we set our targets, so we, like I had previously indicated, we're currently busy with the budgeting process for the next financial year and the MTech. The understanding is that we will be working towards achieving 100% of those targets. Yes, there's been improvement over the years within this current parliamentary term, but we've not yet gotten to 100%. It is an ideal that we're looking to achieve, and we'll continue to work towards getting as close as possible to the 100%. I'm asking that when we get into the actual program performance, if we can then revisit the the question and then respond to it per program in terms of which of the targets have not been achieved, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if I may, I just want to make a general comment around performance. So at the end of or beginning of a financial year, there's strategic discussion and it gets unpacked where performance indicators are being identified. But Chair, I don't think that it would be remiss of me not to state that when these indicators are placed as indicators or targets, I don't think anyone in the administration works with the assumption that it won't be achieved. So at the time, it is identified as a priority, and the administration then works towards achieving that. With that being said, Chair, I'm a firm believer that if we do the same things over and over and again, we're going to get the same results over and over again. So as part of the strategic objectives of building a good, credible, good governed institution as the cornerstone of democracy, the targets being set is very, very, very important. So the point that Honourable Maseko is raising is very, very, very crucial, and it's something that I take very, very seriously, because we cannot come here next year with the annual report and indicate that in program, let's use program 1, this was the target, this was not achieved, but this is the reason. So while we understand that there is circumstances surrounding achievement, the innovative strategic dissecting of the key components of the institution is very, very important. I think it's important to note that we, as an administration, obviously work diligently to try and achieve that. And as Ms. Goldstein indicated, we're not there yet, but we're striving and working towards that. Because when we say, and I get onto a platform and I say we want to make this the best run parliament, how do we innovate to achieve that? So that's a very valid point, and I take that very, very seriously. So thank you to the member for raising that.
Thank you, Speaker. Honourable members, are there any further questions on Part A? I don't see any hands. We will then proceed to Part B of the annual report, pages 31 to 86. In terms of performance information, I recognize Member Maseko and then Member Syed.
Thank you very much. Chair, I just want to ask on page 40 on the employee wellness program, if maybe we can get unpacking of and I think that's why also Member Lecker initially wanted to dwell into that about to what an extent are we prioritizing the employee wellness programs and being the psychological support and also the ongoing. I asked this in one of the departments also, that if you have the psychological support, there need to be a toll-free number of SN1 if an employee needs that support. Do you have that, or what does it entail? Maybe if you can unpack your wellness program, what does it mean when you talk about the employee wellness program? I will appreciate to get that. I think I'll have the follow-ups, Chair, after I get the foundation of the response to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Maseko, Member Syed, and then Member Bosman.
No, Chair, mine is just, and I'm not sure if it's because I stepped out and I not necessarily heard the response. I just wanted to know the time frame, or when do we expect a resolution on the matter of point 2 relating to the use of the official vehicle, and it's still subject to a process. I just wanted to know whether, maybe I missed it because I stepped out. I'm not sure. Thanks.
Missed the response, Member Syed. Only this time I will allow for a repeat of the response. And then Member Bosman, you can pose your question.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, on page 40, under performance moderation, it says that performance moderation was completed for 81 employees who qualified for pay progression. Can we get a breakdown of the categories that those employees fall under? And then on page 41, the last sentence, Chair, I'm not sure if this is creative writing 101, but it says there that while change management was initially an issue for some users, the ITDS team facilitated training and troubleshooting where required. Does this refer to the changeover of email accounts? Because if my memory serves me right, there was no change management. On Friday, we had emails. On Monday, we didn't. And there was no email to say that there was anything that was going to happen. And then also on page 42, the records management, it says that there's a Western Cape Archival and Records Management Services audit, which is planned to take place in March 2023. We're now already in October, so maybe if we can get an indication of whether that actually took place or whether this paragraph was just written earlier in the year. And I'll stop there for now, Chair.
Thank you, Member Bosman. Mr. Jawudeen, can I please ask in terms of page 18, bullet point number 2, just to repeat your response to Member Syed? And then, Mr. Secretary, if you can indicate in terms of Member Maseko and Member Bosman's questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate my response on the second bullet is the fact that that current case is still under decision this financial year. We are awaiting a pending outcome. So a date I'm not 100% sure of, but we are expecting an outcome of that particular case in this current financial year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawudeen. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm going to ask Ms. Prakasim to deal with the question on employee health and wellness, Mr. Skrike to deal with the question on the Microsoft Office 365 migration, the change management, and then Mr. Jawudeen, Mr. Babu to deal with the question on the archives. But maybe if I can start at the top. So when Speaker Mitchell had assumed office as the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, one of the areas in terms of going back to basics is to also ensure that we attend to staffing issues, including looking at what is the culture and what is the morale of the institution as part of going back to basics, because that was considered, well, that is considered one of the pillars of getting the institution to perform at the desired level. The Employee Health and Wellness Program, together with other matters, whether it be the management of performance of the institution, change management interventions and programs that we're looking to put in place going forward, will then assist us with attending to that specific priority for the institution that will then be aligned to the objectives of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I'm going to ask that we start with Ms. Prakasim in terms of the question that was posed by Honourable Maseko. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may proceed in that order.
Thank you, Chairperson. So in terms of employee wellness, we have adopted a holistic approach to employee wellness. And essentially what that means is that we look at both the psychological as well as the physical well-being of an individual. And in that regard, we've partnered with ICAS, and over the period in time, ICAS offers both individual and family counseling. So in terms of access to those services, yes, there is, employees are able to access it through a toll-free number. We hold regular sessions with ICAS to raise awareness around the basket of services that are provided by ICAS, as well as providing that toll-free number which employees can access. From a physical well-being point of view, we do understand that your overall physical well-being is important. So to that end, we've held primary healthcare clinics, which has yielded good success in terms of identifying what some of the health risks might be around employees. Additionally, and this speaks to, again, psychological well-being, we recognize that in the changed working environment, leadership plays a critical role in terms of how they are able to manage and motivate their employees, but leadership has changed. Leading and managing a team in a remote context is significantly different to doing it in person. So to that end, as part of the wellness program, we've run a leadership development program, which is aimed at enhancing the leadership skills of managers so that they can provide better support to employees around motivation, engagement, and thus creating a more psychologically safe workspace. Thank you, Chair.
Very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to just also again make a comment about employee wellness, which is very near to my heart, because I mean, Chair, we deal with the society where we've just come out of two and a half years of COVID-19. The impact that COVID-19 had on families, on individuals, it was enormous. And so with that in mind, and the change in working conditions that employees were forced to adapt to, employee wellness is something that we take very, very seriously. And for that reason, when I took office, was one of those things that is a non-negotiable, because we deal with individuals that is providing a service to the citizens, to the members, and to this institution. But we also have we must never forget the human aspect of the person that we are dealing with, whichever position you occupy in the administration, that we must always be mindful that the wellness of our employees, who is the backbone of this institution, are taken seriously, and that there's a platform where a employee can comfortably, safely reach out. So as the Secretary indicated, that as part of the culture change and the change of the institution gradually, that is paramount to our success, and it's also important to the individual. So I just want to again recommit that is something it's non-negotiable.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Mr. Secretary, outstanding responses?
This speaks to the Office 365 transition, or at least the on-prem mail to Office 365. So there was a migration. And as Member Bosman said, there was some failures with the migration. But I just want to highlight there's two types of change management processes. There's technical change management, which is where we plan for the migration and for the technical changes that needs to take place. And then there's the people part of it, where people needs to be trained and made aware of the new system to use it effectively. So the change that we did to Office 365, to change to Office 365, was a back-end change. And with all the due diligence, we worked with Microsoft on this, is that it should not have impacted anyone, as the Outlook client should have detected it based on the tech we put in place and failed people over smoothly to Office 365. We later discovered that Microsoft failed to inform us that Office 2013 would not fail over so smoothly. So there was no real change for the end users. Everyone knows how Outlook works. Everyone knows how to look Outlook up, email client. It was merely the back end that was changing and where the database was sitting. But that transition didn't happen smoothly. And that is where we maybe should have done better due diligence in terms of testing the older Office versus the Microsoft Office 365 client that people are currently using. So yes, we did fail at that. And we needed to then take manual actions to migrate the Outlook connection to the cloud. And that is where the ad hoc training took place with staff that could not access their email at the time. We did have the web browser was still an option, so people were not completely cut off from the email, as the emails were still routing and you could use a web browser to then access your email. So yes, it was not a very smooth migration for those that was on Office 2013, and the technical change management could have been better. Thank you.
Chair, in response to Member Bosman's question, the audit took place on the 9th of March 2023, and WCPP subsequently sent a response to the findings of those particular of the audit, and that was sent on the 22nd of May. We can share both the findings of Western Cape Archives as well as our response to them, so that we can share that with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any follow-up questions? None. Member Bosman? Covered. Member Lecker? Member Lecker, you may proceed. For the third and final time, Member Lecker, you may proceed. Honourable members, I do not see any further hands. Member
Sorry,
Bosman?
I might have missed it. I was busy making notes, but was the question answered on the performance moderation and the breakdown of the categories that the 81 employees fell into?
Ms. Prakasim will respond to that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. So in terms of pay progression, employees who have completed a full performance cycle and who are in grades B to E qualify for pay progression, provided that, of course, on overall assessment, they have met the 60% threshold. So in that regard, the individuals in those categories would be individuals who are qualified. Individuals who do not qualify are people, obviously, who during that period under review have not completed a full performance cycle or are in fixed-term contract positions, or may have been non-compliant with the process and therefore do not qualify, or in terms of their pay are at what we call at the top of their notch.
Very much. Member Maseko?
It's another question, not a follow-up.
A new one.
Yeah.
Proceed, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Chair, I just want to ask on page 49, and it's just the example of why I was asking about the performance and the baseline. That is one of there is, maybe if I can get the comment, the unpacking for the comment, because it talks about the financial management, and the sub-program is, you say, establish mechanisms year on year to continuously improve governance processes and practices. And the actual achievement for 2021 and 22, it was not achieved. Repeat findings in AXA, IA, and IC measured. Then the plan target, it becomes you to establish the mechanisms for year to year. Then the actual achievement you retained, and then you say the slow progress in implementing management action plans and inconsistent adherence to internal controls. That is why I'm asking that now. If you set target and then on the report you get something like this, what is the baseline? Because it's a year-on-year issue that you respond as if you don't have control. That I wanted to understand that the way you explain it's like I don't have control on this, but still you put it as a concern yourself that it's something that you have to improve. If I can maybe get it unpacking, it will make sense to me. Or Member Lecker, just mute your mic. It will make sense to me that what does it mean? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member Maseko. We have actually asked Member Lecker to just unmute herself so that we can try if there is a period of time that she's unmuted, we would be able to hear her. Member Lecker?
Thank you, Chair. I'm seriously apologizing because I don't know what's happening with my device. My question, Chair, is on page 36. There's
Can you
one
please repeat
bullet,
the page, member? Page
36.
36.
36. Did you get that one, Chair?
Yes, please proceed, member.
Under legal support, where the first bullet says the Labour Court upheld that award, which was in favor of the legislature. I just want to check what was the award. And then again, under legal services, the matter that was argued in the Constitutional Court in February 2023. Can we get more details on this case? Who were the applicants? I don't want to assume, but maybe that we are one of a number of respondents, National Parliament or also being one. So I want to check what's happening. Again, which bill was this? And then under Section 76, that has subsections and a number of subsections into it. Which particular instance of Section 76 of the Constitution are we talking to? And then, Chair, on page 38 on strategy and organizational performance, it says the third members' satisfaction survey was undertaken in 2022-2023. How many members participated in this survey? But then, Chair, I think there's one follow-up which I may have, particularly when Member Maseko spoke of employee wellness. Under employee wellness, I want to check, Chairperson, in terms of timelines in respect to how Parliament support its staff members, do we ever get instances where staff members feel like they are burnt out, they've been working without being given enough time in terms of leave? Do we perhaps get instances where sick leave are abused, or normal leaves that staff members may apply for and they are not granted in terms of their annual leave? And then maybe lastly to that, also somewhere in page 36, it's about the staff turnout. We've seen recently staff members leaving WCPP. Can we get a comment to the administration in terms of the exit interviews that are undertaken with those staff members? Do we have anything to worry out of the reports from the exit interviews in relation to how staff members are leaving WCPP? Is it a matter of them not being happy, or they just leave because they seek greener pastures and personal development elsewhere? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Member Lecker. Secretary, will you indicate? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm going to ask Advocate Leroux to deal with the two litigation matters. The one is about the Labour Court and the other one is about the Constitutional Court matter in February. Ms. Prakasim will then deal with the matters related to the staffing matters. Again, employee health and wellness, and then the exit interviews. And I think Honourable Lecker had also asked about sick leave and those matters. Chairperson, then Honourable Maseko on page 49 had requested some further insights in terms of that specific matter under the sub-program financial management. I'm going to ask the CFO and Ms. Nikelo to assist with the responses there. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. The officials may proceed in that order. Thank you.
Chairperson, thank you. The first question related to the Labour Court matter. There was a unfair labor practice dispute in respect of a recruitment and selection process. That dispute went to the CCMA. The CCMA did not uphold the unfair labor allegation. The decision by the CCMA was taken on review, and the Labour Court upheld that decision by the arbitration award by the CCMA. That's on the first matter. Then, Chairperson, the second matter relates to the what we call the Mukhale judgment, what's commonly known as the Mukhale judgment. The member had a few questions about that. I think one of the questions was the parties that were involved with that litigation. It was Constitutional Court litigation. It was brought by, among others, Mukhale and some other NGOs that were applicants in the matter. There were quite a long list of respondents. The respondents included the Speaker of the NA and the Chairperson of the NCOP. It included all the speakers of all the provincial legislatures. It also included the responsible national minister, if memory serves. So there's quite a long list of parties involved in that. The issue, Chairperson, was fundamentally public involvement in respect of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act. So the allegation by the applicants were effectively that that public involvement process was inadequate for various reasons. And of course, those reasons were directed towards processes in Parliament, in the National Assembly, in the NCOP, and in the provincial legislatures. That matter was argued earlier this year, in the year under review. It was argued in February of this year, and the judgment was handed down in August, if I'm not mistaken, of this year. Chairperson, I'm going to leave it there. If there are more questions on that, then I'm happy to respond to it.
Chairperson, so I'll deal with the questions relating to employee wellness and exits from WCPP. In terms of employee wellness, the taking of leave and the approval of leave happens at an operational level, not at a people management level. So if there have been instances where, for example, annual leave's been requested, it is within the purview of that particular line manager to assess that request against the operational requirements and decide on whether or not they are approving it. With regard to sick leave, as part of the data analysis that we do in people management on a monthly basis, we do look at sick leave trends. We do look in terms of the BCEA, where there is non-compliance with the 8-week rule, because that then gives us a potential indicator of where there might be abuse. And there again, we will engage with the line manager, firstly seeking to understand. We don't go to the place of assuming that there is abuse in the first instance. We start from the point of view that it's legitimate and we need to explore what is behind it. And very importantly, and this is the employee wellness issue, is more preemptively look at supporting that before it becomes an issue. We recognize that in the environment that we currently operate in, with the various range of pressures, that burnout is a reality. And there have been instances where we've had to work with employees around that in terms of supporting them through the ICAS program, because it must be emphasized and understood, burnout is not simply about taking time off and staying at home. There is psychological issues that are underpinning it. And so we encourage in those instances that there is partnership with a health professional council so that the root cause of that can be addressed. With regards to the issues of exits from WCPP, for the period under review, there were 13 exits. These exits were made up of resignation, retirement, and expiration of contracts. So they're what we call voluntary and involuntary. Obviously, if a person's reached retirement age, they're not seeking out greener pastures necessarily. With regards to the involuntary, which is the resignations, yes, exit interviews have been conducted in all instances. There is, having seen that, so with the resignations, in each instance, those individuals have gone on to assume roles that are, from a hierarchical point of view, more senior than what they were currently occupying. So they really speak to an issue of growth and development on the part of a career of an individual. And we recognize in an institution that's relatively small and has a fairly flat structure, the extent that we can offer those hierarchical opportunities are limited. So in that instance, there was nothing out of that that was concerning. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Can I?
Chairperson, thank you. Maybe just also with regards to leave, annual leave, it is important that across the organization, whether you are at a lower level or at the highest level, that we implement the planning of annual leave. Otherwise, we could get to the situation where in a particular period of the year, most of the staff in the component is on leave because of their choice, which could then have an impact on operational requirements. And that's why at the start of a calendar year, there's always the direction that let's start planning our leave for the calendar year. In this case, or in the next instance, it would be from January 2024 until December 2024, so that both managers and staff can plan the work that needs to be done during the year and when staff would not be available because of the annual leave that they have planned. As chairperson, we would get the scenario where, and because annual leave has a 12 plus 6 months expiry date, in June of a year, we could get to a situation if we don't deal with the planning of leave where a lot of staff members needs to take leave, otherwise the leave lapses. And that, like I indicated, could have an impact on operational requirements when we don't have sufficient staff on duty for the work to continue. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to make a general comment under the question that Honourable Lacker posed, which I think it's a very valid and a very critical question, not only for WCPP, but for parliaments in the country, because it directly speaks to the core constitutional mandate of parliaments with public engagement before passing a bill. I think although we endeavour to achieve that public participation to stand mustered and scrutiny in a court of law, this is also again given the administration the opportunity to relook at how we budget for these things, because it's very, very important that I mean, I keep going on about back to basics, but that is the constitutional mandate of a parliament. So how do we ensure that public participation, public education, and outreach are funded adequately with committees, obviously, to achieve that? Because the judgment or the Mohali judgment is clear on what and to what extent public participation should happen before a bill becomes an act, and we as Parliament can never again be part of a situation where where a court rules that it's not enough public engagement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Speaker. Honourable members, are you satisfied that your first round of questions has been adequately answered? I do not see hands for any follow-ups. Member Lecker.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mine, Chairperson, is around, again, the issues of employee wellness. I think for me, judging by the nature of the work that we do, it then translates to the amount of work that the administration staff may have. Now, I want to check in terms of that particular aspect in respect to wellness, do we get group sessions where employees are given an opportunity to participate on activities by maybe through is it EES or ESS, service providers coming and debriefing and briefing the staff members. Then lastly, Chair, I think again it falls within, which I did not receive the response to, the amount of what the award. That was the first question that I asked. What was the award? I did not get a response except to say there was a process of a review. So at least at that one, I need a response to it. But particularly, I need a process as a legislator, process that is undertaken in terms of dealing with wellness. I mean, for now, for instance, we are in a mental month. I don't remember seeing any activities that is put out there by Parliament for its staff members. At least can we get some insight as to what exactly Parliament does for its staff members in terms of their wellness? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Lecker, and then Member Maseko.
No, Chair, I was saying my question isn't
So outstanding
Yes.
is that the page 49 question. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Chairperson, I'm going to ask that we start with that response, the 49 with the CFO. There was also a question, I think it was Honorable Lecker, that had asked about the survey. How many members had participated in the survey? I'm going to ask Ms. Goldstone to respond to that, but also whether over the parliamentary term, because remember, it's not the first time we've conducted the survey, whether there's been an increase in members' participation in the survey. Thank you.
Chair, through you, the page 49 question, yes, while we have not achieved the target, it is something that we are going to continue striving towards. Also, it's on a different set of transactions that the audit happens, and sometimes the mechanisms, while we have put in place certain things, it's spread across the organization, and while we do try to manage it, you know, things happen during the year that impact on it, like with 30-day payments. We've gotten a new operating procedure for that. Monthly, we follow it up with managers. Unfortunately, there are still things that fall through the cracks. I think there are also some IT things which are dependent on us purchasing some things which may have also been overtaken by what is happening during the year. Thank you. Ms. Nikela may also just supplement what other findings there are.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just to also add context to the findings. So the findings that we're reporting on now, because we get audited a year later, so the measurement and the results would also be a year later. So for the period under review, the comparison was done between the 2021 and 2022 because those results only come out in the 2022-23 financial year, which is the period under review. But in terms of the slow progress that we reflecting in terms of the reasons for deviations, one of the contributing factors is our dependency on external stakeholders in terms of them addressing some of the findings. For example, we had findings under IT relating to the maintenance of server equipment, of which we are dependent to an external stakeholder to do that maintenance. So in that regard, where we have those findings where we're dependent on external stakeholders, we do escalate. There have been meetings with the external stakeholders in terms of the Office of the Secretary to try and improve on those. So if we're looking at this audit that we've just concluded now and going forward, there's just one finding that will remain as a repeat finding. So we would have addressed all the findings. So when we're reporting next year, we will see a much more improved picture here. And then in terms of the mechanisms. So as Nicole would have said, we do establish processes, but also even above that, once then audit has been concluded, we would then unpack the root cause of why the finding actually occurred, and that would then necessitate the revision of processes in terms of maybe creating standard operating procedures, revising policies, etc. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I just want to find out maybe in moving forward. So if you're going to set the standard operating procedures, that means they were not there. But when coming to FAMPLA, my understanding is you've got different officials when coming to the end where something has to be signed off. And maybe I can make an example of there was the issue of what was it? I just want to think out of the box. Let's say the same of the interpretations, that it's not only one person that is involved. And then when coming to a deviation, when to an extent that now they are not paid on time or any other payment that has to happen and it happens after the 30 days, it's usually, as it happens now or as it happened before 2021, 2020, was it one person involved that now you see you have to involve more people, or were two people that couldn't see? Somewhere I saw you talked about there was a slight error from an official that something happened. So I want to check the standard operating procedures that you have in place. Is it always where it's only one person involved, or there is more than one person involved? And then if we are going to see a difference, is you have identified that you need to have more people so that there's due diligence at the end of whatever that needs to be implemented.
Thank you, Member Maseko. Secretary?
Chairperson, I think what I'm hearing, the question from Honorable Maseko is, what are the controls in place, to prevent a reoccurrence? And if that control measures were already in place when the incident had happened, what was the cause of the incident? Then if we have a staff member A doing the work, staff member B checking the work, staff member C signing off on the work, which means that there's already two controls being put in place. I think that's the question.
You can
because
expand, member.
Thank you very much. Because I want to interlink with the training, the capacity that will be needed. Because if you identify that is not going to end up in this department, that means there is a specific training that will be needed for that to, as a control measure also that has been placed to empower that officials.
Thank you for that clarity, member.
So Chairperson and Ms. Nikela can add if she deems it necessary. So sometimes there's a standard operating procedure in place, okay? But that standard operating procedure needs to be amended so that it can be improved. It's not that there's nothing in place. So for example, the standard operating procedure, when it is assessed, the SOP, when it is assessed, it could then determine that our controls are adequate, but maybe those who are part of the process, Honourable, might need a bit of a refresher course or needs the specific training. So the remedy to deal with the matter does not always mean that it's training. It doesn't always mean there's an absence of a control. It might just mean there needs to be improvement. From memory, I can recall there has been incidents where we actually need to look at doing things differently and therefore amending the standard operating procedure, because the world in that area would have changed. Either legislation had changed or the practice of getting additional efficiencies would have changed, and therefore we needed to have amended the SOP. So in terms of dealing with matters that could have been identified, it's either capacity building, it's either putting further controls in place, or in some cases, Chairperson, it might even mean that consequence management need to be applied. Let's look at the 30-day payments, for example. If we don't have a focused eye on payment of service providers within 30 days, the impact not on us but on the service providers could be catastrophic. It causes cash flow problems. It causes they can't deal with their commitments. So if the challenge is a reoccurring challenge, Either the same individuals or the same process is not working. We either need to change the process to make it correct, or we need to deal with a staff member in terms of consequence management. And consequence management is not necessarily a punitive act. Okay, it could also just be a corrective act that needs to be put in place. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson, if Ms. Goldstone can then attend to the question of the survey.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. In the current year, 2022, or the year under review, 2022-23, there were 21 members that participated. And then in terms of the history, in the prior year, it was only 8 members, and in the year before that, 12 members. So we are steadily increasing the participation and the interest in contributing to making the WCPP more effective. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Goldson. Can I please ask those areas that members indicated? I appreciate the fact
So overall, the main area of improvement was in public participation, which in the previous years, the satisfaction levels were slightly lower. So in 21-22, that mainly accounts for the increase that we see in the current year. Then there were some improvements also in some other areas in the perception of the effectiveness around house papers and Hansard, research and information services, members' affairs, the processing of claims, allowances, etc. Digital services went up quite high, up to almost 99%. Slight decline in 2 areas, procedural support or the perception of procedural support in some areas. Health, safety and facilities, that was the area of the biggest drop. So here we're talking about all facilities, safety issues, parking issues, security, and general OHS. And then, yeah, there's one area where there was no change, and that was in the area of the perception of support for oversight, public hearings and study visits. So that's overall how we fared, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Goldstone. Covered. Honourable members, we've dealt with Part B, I believe, extensively. We will now be moving to Part C, pages 87 to 108. Any questions from members?
What page you speak, Chairperson, may I ask?
The governance part, Member Lekker, page 87 to page 108.
Sorry, Chair, through your indulgence.
Member Maseko?
So through your indulgence, I tried to look for the page because you want the pages. That has to do with our website, but I can't find where to get it because that is the really serious discussion we have to have, Chair, because it's really...
You're receiving the same warning as Member Said, Member.
It's for the last time. I would never do that to you.
Thank you. You may proceed, Member Maseko.
Okay, thank you very much. Secretary, I just want to find out about our website. Our website, sometimes you'll find that as we go for the oversight, we refer to the website, but you'll find most of the time what happened yesterday is still today. So looking at updating our website always and making sure that there is information in advance. Is there something that is we need to be aware of what is lacking behind, and maybe also the deputy speaker and the speaker, and I know the deputy speaker is very passionate about the issue of the website, to say that what needs to happen for us to really get that in place to make sure the information is updated, and to also maybe sometimes get the reports on the website. How do we improve it? I'm just thinking out of the box, but how do we improve it? Because as we speak now, it's a tool that we have to use to engage with our communities, but it doesn't give information of exactly what are the other things that you are doing, or when was the last that you looked at it to say that you are being innovative, and also you are not leaving it behind and looking at the day-to-day, also looking at it as part of a tool that you can use to improve the services within WCPP?
Thank you very much, Member Maseko. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm going to ask Ms. Fouchier and if deemed necessary, Mr. Retief to respond to that question.
Thank you very much, Secretary, Madam Chair, and Ms. Maseko. Whilst the WCPP has a webmaster, which is one person that is in charge of the website, we have content managers that is spread throughout the institution. So committee coordinators are the content managers for their committees, etc. So we heavily rely on the content managers to, within a certain time frame, upload the information. This isn't a specific job that is allocated, or the only job that is allocated to one person. So we can't necessarily say it will be up within 2 hours or within 3 hours. It does depend on the pressures that those people are facing. Like if you're on oversight visits, while the committee coordinator is busy with the committee, information might not necessarily be uploaded, although we have performance standards, and we do encourage people to, where they feel that they are themselves not able to reach out to ask for assistance. I don't know, Mr. Retief, if you want to elaborate on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I wasn't quite clear on the comment regarding the annual report, because the WCPP's annual reports, and in fact all of the department's annual reports, have been on the website for a couple of weeks already. So they might not necessarily be in the calendar event for today's meeting, but they are on the website under the corporate publications, I think.
Maseko?
Okay, thank you. I was not talking specific about the annual reports. I think Sunil answered me, because if you don't have the content personnel that can update and feed the website itself all the time on what has to happen and try to vet what it can be of public interest into the website, there's no way we can get it correct. So we need, and especially for the dependency that we have created is the social media also. That website also have to be active to give the information of some of the things that we are claiming or we are championing as WCPP. So it makes sense what she explained, that we are expecting too much as we speak now, of which I throw it back to Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and the Secretary to say that if we are going to say that we use social media, let it be social media across board and not choose some and leave others out of that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Maseko. Mr. Retief, you want to further comment or respond?
Chairperson, thank you. If I can maybe just add some information. Our website that we have now, I think is approximately 12 years old. So it is an old website. It is also developed on a reasonably elementary platform. And to get that platform to be able to provide the complex services to visitors, the site has had to be customized quite a lot. And we've now reached that stage, I think, with any kind of, whether it's an app or a website or whatever, where you are working on an old platform and where it has been customized, you get to a threshold where you can't anymore. So we are in the process now of starting discussions with ITDS at looking at starting a process in the next financial year to redevelop the website. And the plan is that it would be developed on a SharePoint platform, and that SharePoint platform will allow for a lot of automation. So, for example, if the clerk of the papers saves minutes of the House to a specific folder on SharePoint, it will automatically publish those minutes to the website. So that should take a few steps out of the process and streamline the updating of the website. But as Ms. Forshire mentioned, there are content writers throughout the institution who are responsible, and the webmaster does attempt, as far as possible, with the assistance of one of our other employees, actually has nothing to do with the website, but to keep an eye on those kind of things, particularly, as you mentioned, to make sure that our social media activities have something to point to on our website. But yes, we are working on something for next year and probably years after that.
That's great. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Retief. As Member Maseko was taking us back going forward, I believe the speaker also have a contribution to make.
Thank you very much. No, I just wanted to say that I completely take the point, and I mean, I don't, and Member Maseko must correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that your question was related to a development of a new website. Your question is the information that is on the website at the time of a user going to the website should be accurate and updated. And that point I've taken. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much,
Sorry, Chair.
Speaker. Member Maseko.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that. Like now, if you go to the website and you click on the reports for this year, there's nothing. It says no results on my laptop. I don't know. On Gillian's laptop, I don't know what is that. On all the schedules of the annual reports now.
So a practical example, Chair, if you go to Community Safety, Cultural Affairs, and you click all types, all months, 2023, there's nothing. But if you go to PMG and you click in the same information, you get all of the work of the committee. So is there perhaps a way, as a temporary measure, just to make sure what's available to the public on PMG is also available on the WCPP website?
Thank you very much, members. Honourable members, we are now engaging on Part C, which deals with governance, pages 87 to 108, and I recognize Member Lecker. Member Lecker, you may proceed. Third and final call, Member Lecker.
It's a legacy hand, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you so much, member. Members in the chamber, any questions on Part C? I do not see any hands, colleagues. Then we will move to Part D, pages 109 to 132.
Can I come in, Chair?
Member Lecker, you may
Chairperson.
proceed.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on 193. Can I go on? May I continue, Chair?
Where's 193?
Chairperson,
Member Lecker,
may I continue?
we are at Part D, page 109 to 132
Yes.
of the annual
I'll
report.
ask one on page 130, Chair.
130. Thank you, member.
Yes,
You may proceed.
I would like to know a report on consultant appointments using appropriate funds under interpreting services. Why are the interpreting services not insourced, given the challenges that were faced with them? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Lecker. Colleagues in chambers, any questions on Part D?
Chair, I just want to find out, I mean, we have been on page 130 also. We've been having a discussion throughout of the engagement. Maybe if we can get the update on the issue of the Hansard transcripts and on the contract value and how far are we with that, because we haven't seen joy attached to that. So if we can be unpacked and what's going to happen, are we just unpacking? I'll ask a question after that.
Thank you very much, members Lecker and Maseko. Member Gillian Bosman, are you covered on the Part D?
My question doesn't have a specific page, but just in terms of
it doesn't exist.
The turnover rate within the WCPP. If I look at last year, if I remember correctly, it was around 4.85%, and this year it's at 8.47%. If I'm correct, if I can just get an indication of why that was more people seem to have left the WCPP in the year under review, as opposed to the previous year, Chair. That's just my one question.
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Member Syed, anything from your side under that part? Not. Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm just going to ask the question from Honorable Lecker, why the interpreting services are not insourced. Maybe just the following. We do not make use of interpreting services 8 hours a day, 168 hours a month. So I mentioned those numbers because that's the working hours of an employee of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. When we do make use of interpreting services, also we contract the service. And in interpreting services, there are specific individuals who provide specific languages and language interpretation. It also then allows us with some flexibility, because if individual A is not available, then individual B is then contacted. For all in-source services that the Western Cape Provincial Parliament has, when an individual is not available, and there's no second employee that provides the same service. That is one of the challenges that organizations experience with insourcing of services that's generally also available external. The current service providers that we have as a part of our interpreting services, if we were to have those services insourced, there's also the issue of the official retirement age of the institution, which means that some of those people who are still providing some good services to the institution would then not be able to be further employed because they would have reached their retirement age. There's a cost benefit for both of those models, the in-source service and the, let's call it the outsource service, or making use of contractors or consultants. But cost benefit is not always about the money. It's about the convenience and the opportunity costs that also adds to a cost benefit analysis. Chairperson, we are also always looking to expand on the number of contractors or interpreters that are available to the institution, because our work is not always just in the CBD. The work of committees, for example, when they go and do public hearings, are also in the districts. Okay, and we are looking at what are the opportunities for us to then also look at expanding or consider expanding the interpreting services also to individuals in those specific districts where the work of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament also frequents itself. Chairperson, maybe just the other responses. In terms of the Hansard services, I'm just going to ask Mr. Stimele to respond to that question. And then Honorable Bosman's question, I think Ms. Prakasim had previously responded to that, but I'm going to ask her maybe just to, if you so desire, Chairperson, just to respond to the question again. And it was about the turnover rate of staff within the institution.
Correct. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Stimele.
Chair, Chair, the Hansard contract was signed after a process where we went out on tender process, and only two service providers that showed interest, and one that came up and is the one that we contracted. So we're left with that in that contract, if I'm not mistaken, with about 3 years, because it was only signed this year or late last year, the Hansard contract.
Colleagues, can you please provide clarity? Can you not hear?
Yeah, I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Stemela, can I please ask for you to start afresh, please, with that response?
I'm saying, Chair, thanks, if I'm not mistaken, the Hansard contract, we were left with about 3 years on it, as it was signed last year. After the process of tender, we went on tender, and then we had only two service providers that were available. And out of those two, the one that got the contract was the better one.
Maseko, please use your mic. Is that a follow-up?
Yeah, I just want to get clarity. So it is signed and it's for 3 years.
It is signed, and probably what is left is 3 years. I'm not sure. I'm just making an estimation. What is left of it might be 3 years.
Need more clarity, member? Follow-up? Speaker wants to speak, and then secretary.
No, Chair, I don't want to speak to this point. I just wanted clarity, but let's finish this round. And because there was a question or a comment made by Honourable Borsman early on about the website, so I want to add, without taking us back, because I need to fix it. So I just want him to just again make that comment so that we can respond to it, please.
Mr. Secretary.
Chairperson, I don't know if this is the question that Honourable Maseko is asking. With each contract, there is a provisions for assessment of performance against the contract specifically. So Honourable Maseko had asked, it's signed and it's 3 years. The question was not asked if we have a problem, how do we get out of the contract? But I'd like to venture a response that with all of the contracts, if there's an issue of performance of the service provider, the contract would make provision for a process to be followed to first either remedy the performance deficiencies or then to look at other alternatives.
Member Maseko.
Thank you very much. I don't have to continue. We'll engage.
Thank you very much, member. And then the speaker just wanted to respond to Member Bosman's comment as well.
No, I want Member Bosman
to repeat
if it's not.
Chairperson, if you go to the WCPP website and you go to committees, committee documents, and you click, for instance, for example, I click is the committee, the standing committee on community safety, cultural affairs and sports. And you only click the year 2023 to get a list of the committee documents. When you click apply, it will say no results found matching the criteria of the filters. If you do the same thing on the Parliamentary Monitoring Group's website, you will get a full list of the committee's activities and documents. So I'm just asking, why is it that PMG is able to keep their records of what we do updated, but we can't do that?
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Speaker, you noting or you going to provide?
I noted that might just be the hyperlinks that's not pulling through, and I'm no IT expert, but we'll check it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking that up, Speaker. Honourable members, can we conclude Part D? I do not see any further hands. Part E, pages 100, from page 133 to page 139. Just give him a moment in time. Honorable members, Part E, page 133 to page 139. Honorable side, any questions from your side? Not? Member Bosman? Member Maseko just stepped out. Member Lecker, any questions from your side?
Mine is on the following pages, not now.
Can you, on which page, Member Lecker?
193 and 197.
Member Lecker? Let's proceed with that. Member Lecker, you may proceed. Muted. Member Lecker, you may proceed with your question.
Sure. May I go on?
Yes, you may, member. Member Lecker, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Chairperson. 193 on investigation for fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the estimated recoverable. Thank you, Chair. Am I audible? Am I audible now?
You may continue, Member Lecker.
Thank you. Chairperson, on 193, the estimated recoverable amount of 158,289. Can we get details of this wasteful and fruitless expenditure? And 2, on 197, services rendered by the service provider before approval. Exactly what details, what happened here? Why did we incur that amount? Can we get the details on the irregular expenditure? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Lecker. Is that your only questions on that part, member?
Yes, those were the only questions.
Thank you so much. Mr. Secretary?
Chairperson, so if I understand the question from Honorable Lecker correctly on page 193 is what are the details? I'm therefore going to ask Mr. Jawadin to respond to both of those questions.
Thank you very much. You may proceed, Mr. Jawadin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just with regard to the first question from Honorable Lecker on 193, that's the same response basically that I provided previously regarding the case that's under with the conduct committee. Up till now, we still haven't had a final decision regarding the outcome of the estimated recoverable amount or the liability specifically with regards to that. So that currently still is a contingent asset even now in our current second quarter IFS reporting period. So that's basically the same case as was mentioned previously under Section 8. If I may, Chair, on page 197, just with regards to the case that the irregular expense related to service rendered by a service provider before the approval, that is basically a case where we had training on our ERP Sage 300 system. However, the actual training process was done before the actual approval was granted for that training, so that was deemed as irregular expenditure specifically for that particular cost. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawadin. Member Lecker, any follow-up questions from your side?
None, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Members, with your indulgence, I don't want to completely end off the session. I'm not sure if Member Maseko might have a question. Thank you so much for that mandate, Member Bosman. Colleagues, we then have dealt with parts A, B, C, D, and E of the annual report. There's no external stakeholders in the House. There's no external stakeholders online. So that can provide inputs into the annual report. Colleagues, I believe that is the end of this session. Are there any other general comments, perhaps from members? Not? Honourable Speaker, any closing remarks from your side?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, honourable members, for the manner in which we could engage today. Thank you for the robust, honest questioning, interrogation of the annual report. Chairperson, it is, as I indicated in my opening remarks, it is the first annual report as the Speaker, but this is also the last annual report that will be tabled for this term for the 6th Parliament. So it is indeed a great privilege for me to be the custodian and the executive authority for the year under review. Chair, it would be remiss of me not to highlight the core values of this institution as we end off this this term of office. Chair, that those values as you enter the lifts of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament is it's there, it's up, so that whoever enters this building, whether it is a member of the administration or a member of Parliament or a member as a citizen, those values is what is the key and cornerstones that drives us to do what we do every day. So with that being said, I would like to take this opportunity to thank every single member from every political party represented in this institution. So thank you very much to everyone, each one of the 42 members. This is not a Speaker's Parliament. It's not the Parliament of the administration, but it's all our Parliament. And we come here every day to represent those citizens that have elected us to represent them. To the Secretary and to the administration, thank you very, very much for the work that you do, for the amounts of hours that has gone into the preparation of this annual report, but every single staff member that provides support in order for the politicians and the members to perform their function as constitutionally mandated. Chair, that it was, as I indicated in the beginning, it's a steep learning curve, but thank you very, very much for the support that you provided and provide me daily. And then to the Deputy Speaker, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, for your support every day and to ensure that we ultimately do what's best for the citizens of this province. And then lastly, but by no least, to my staff or the office, to the support in my office, thank you very much, Jannie Lorica, and to the team in the office, baie dankie vir die onbaatsigtige elke dag vir julle ondersteuning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Honourable members and officials, with that, we have come to the end of our meeting. Today, I want to extend also my appreciation to each and every one of you for the valuable contributions and the discussions that we were able to have, for your dedication and your commitment to our shared objectives. Honourable Speaker, it is indeed evident. Thank you for the constant endeavour of upholding the credibility of this institution. And I am indeed confident that we are making great strides in our mission. Honourable colleagues, until we meet again, you are most welcome to have lunch at 12 o'clock at the usual place and space. Thank you very, very much. Honourable members, you are not to leave quite. We still need to deal with the resolutions, but the rest of you are excused. Thank you so much, and I wish you a most blessed day. Dustin.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Goed gaan, Sunel. Dankie.
If it's here, secretary.
Oh, wow. Ai.
Nee, meneer van volgende maand weet ik, wil daar
Honourable members, I will just ask Mr. Davids quickly if he has captured any resolutions, and we can just add on to that if necessary.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, through you, Honourable members. Basically, with regards to the records management that Member Bosman asked on page 42, the records management audit that was held, the institution indicated that they will supply the outcome of that audit and all of the responses and the measures that the institution indicated that they will put in place. Chairperson, I have a lot of questions that I've written down, all the questions and the answers. There wasn't specific resolutions that I could capture, but there were one or two concerns that I can put in the report for the committees, noting for when the committee adopts and considers the report. Maybe it must stay in, maybe it can come out of the report, etc.
Okay.
But if the members have any other resolutions, I can just note it, Chair, for inclusion in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davids. And also be considerate of the fact, members, that next year is a short year. So whatever we resolve and don't get to falls off. So just keep that in mind as well. Anything from your side, Member Maseko?
Chair, just one recommendation. It will be when the
Can't hear you.
I can hear myself. When we have the alarm, like if you were sitting here and you have an alarm, I will have to jump through the window to have that pouch there. The things that they have on the stairs there for the health and wellness, if it falls under that, it's non-functional. I didn't want to embarrass us in the meeting. Yeah. I didn't want, it was a disaster when there was a real alarm and I was here with the knee. It was a mess. So if maybe we can put that for them to look at the safety also. The health, wellness, and safety, to add the safety part to that. And then if they add it, what does it entail? That crappy things, I was seeing my life in front of me.
Thank you, Member Maseko. Member Bosman?
I think the question I have is just the way the report is written. It's as if some of these things were written way ahead of time and they were just copied and pasted. And there are also many assumptions that are not backed up by evidence of fact. I remember Leka highlighted one around, if you read that and you are not in in this house, you would assume that Parliament has already passed that piece of legislation because it's written as if it's already happened. So I'm not sure if the officials are forecasting the future or what, but it's a dynamic political environment. And then there are also things that should have changed a long time ago, because if you planned a meeting to take place in March and the meeting took place, the annual report should reflect that the meeting has taken place and that update could be included. So that's just my one concern. It's a very interesting document to read.
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Your comment in that regard is duly noted and recorded. Member Syed, you're covered. Thank you so much. Member Lekker?
I'm covered.
Thank you so much, Member Lekker. I am covered. Thank you, Mr. Davids. If anything comes up, I'm sure I can reach out to you, but I am covered. Colleagues, that deals with our session this morning. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Just. You? My letter. Okay, I'll do that now for you. No, I'm seeing it out. Yeah, I just want to let me just